building literally opposite blew up. I seen them, the two militia running. They turned and faced. I was the only one there. Did the like classic cliche, went to engage, but then they turned and ran. Obviously, rules of engagement, that's something you don't do. And at that point, there was civilians around, as I said, because they were starting to feel a little bit safe. So I was grabbing civilians because the building was on fire, and in getting them behind the walls. And I must have sounded like really really dumb squaddy. And they were like, well, what happened? I was like, well, the building's blown up. Can you get out of the way?
Right, just before we crack on with this episode, just a quick word about our sponsor, KS Civils and Groundworks Limited, based in Leeds. They have over 296 years of combined experience in civil engineering and groundworks. Led by Director Carl Smith, their team is known for honesty, reliability and commitment to the highest safety and quality standards. They're proudly ISO accredited and fully CHAS Elite accredited. No matter the size of your project, KS Civils and Groundworks delivers professional, trustworthy service you can rely on. To learn more, visit kscivelsandgroundworks.co.uk. Now let's dive back into this episode. Frankie will do. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight I've got the honour of talking to Gina Allsop. Gina served with the Royal Signals between 1996 and 2007. And like she's just informed me, if you look her up on the internet's got it wrong, so it needs corrected somewhere. After leaving the services, or leaving the Royal Signals, Gina served with the TA. Still can't call it reservists. I don't know why, but it's the TA. Hey, Gina, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on.
No, honestly, like I said to everybody, thanks for coming on, because without people volunteering, there's not a lot I can do about it. It's the same questions I ask you that I've asked everybody else. So it's, where did you grow up? Why did you join the military? What was it like? Why did you leave? And what have you done since? And you can say whatever you want. This is your story. So if you just want to start off, give us a bit of a background about yourself. Like, where did you grow up and what made you seek a career in the military?
Yeah, so I grew up on a wonderful place called the Wirral, which is nestled between Liverpool and Wales. And I was just really an outdoors kid. I was always into sports. I got into skiing because there was a plastic slope, and there still is a plastic slope called the Oval, 50 metres long. Learned how to ski on there. And then I got into the Army Cadets, and I think that just kind of started my journey into the military, really, because I was good at it. I loved everything to do with it. For some reason, I love doing the green stuff, the fieldcraft, the drill, all the rifle skills, shooting, the adventure training, and that's what it gave you. And I was just away nearly every weekend from the moment I joined up. I was either skiing or in the Army Cadets. I'm doing a bit of GCSE.
Did you have any the military in the background in your family, or?
Yeah, so obviously most people who of our age, our granddads and grandfathers were in the Second World War. So my two granddads, Second World War, and my nanas were part of the home effort. And my great granddad was First World War, fought with Montgomery. We've got some of his incredible letters. And my dad was Merchant Navy, and my brother was Navy, and I should have really joined the Navy, but I didn't like the uniform.
Well, good as an excuse as any, isn't it? I mean, I was the same. I had two brothers in the Army. I come from Hartlepool, and it was just a bit of a dead-end place, to be honest. And because they were in the Army, I think it was just expected that I went now. I didn't go to cadets or anything like that. I wasn't interested in it. but I couldn't wait to get in. It was like the prospects of spending or finishing growing up almost in Hartlepool was, the unemployment was rife and everything like that. So I kind of escaped from Hartlepool to join the army, and I didn't look back. I thought it was great. I mean, what did you? So you've been the T. Bloody hell, I'm starting again with the cadets. That's give you a bit of an insight into the military as well. Turning up for training and going. We'll start off. We'll go back a bit. Going down to the careers office. What made you pick the Royal Signals, or was it one of them things where the recruiter was a Royal Signals and got you in that way?
No. So originally, I'd gone to be an officer, and I got in as an RLC officer, but for some reason they thought I had an accent, and they deferred me. I probably did. I don't now, obviously. They deferred me for 6 months to go to elocution lessons, and kind of headstrong, I was like, "Nah, I'm not waiting." And the reason for the Royal Signals is my cadet sergeant, who was a regular sergeant in what's called the cadet training teams. They get posted in, and he was a tanky, and I was obviously aged out, and I was back being an adult instructor, and he was like, "Gina, whatever you do, get a trade, get the best trade you can get. And if you don't like it, you can change once you're in. But get the best trade." And he said, "Go Royal Signals or REME." So I thought, he knows what he's talking about. I trotted down to the careers office when I was like that, right, sod you. I'm just going to join up. And I went Royal Signals, what's called now communication engineer, which was well, we could have a debate about that if there's any ciggies about, but was the top trade at its time. And that's
Yeah, I
what I
mean, I think the advice I got off my brothers was to try and join something with a trade, and I was trying to join the air corps. I loved helicopters. I don't know why. I was fascinated, and I wanted in the air corps. But there was no spaces when I got down to the selection centre, and they basically said you'd have to wait 6 months. And I thought, nah, I'll wait 6 months. I want in. So they offered me the Royal Artillery, and I was like, what's that? I had no idea what it was, and I joined it. And I don't regret it. I mean, do you ever regret the officer side of it? Do you think what would have been, what would be different?
I think I regret it now I'm out, because I think personally more doors open if you've been commissioned, from what I've seen, and you sometimes can get a little bit more of a leg up because of that network. But during, absolutely not. I joined in the army to see the world, and my first 5 years after trade training, I'd done like 35 different countries, which was phenomenal in the era we kind of joined in.
Yeah, just a bit, yeah.
So no, I don't regret it.
I mean, talking to basic training then, so what was it like when you first turned up there? Because, I know everyone I've spoke to on the podcast, less one person, but I won't go into that one. You shit yourself when you turn up there, really. It's like, you think you know what to expect, and you're wrong.
Yeah. I think because I was a cadet, I found it a lot easier than someone who wasn't, because in the respect that, I mean, they're still going to beast me. You didn't, they're always going to be able to break you in that manner, because you're never going to be fit enough to what you're going in. But like I knew how to do drill. I knew how to do rifle drill. Probably not to that highest standard on the rifle drill, to be fair. Fieldcraft, I knew it because it mirrored it. The only subject that I really had to learn as in new was the military history, and probably what was called the NBC, which has changed to something else now. So I just seen it as an extension of the cadets. I just, was getting paid for it now. So I loved it. I mean, Yeah. I love it.
Was there many females in training with you? Because I mean,
No,
back
so
then there wasn't so many females in the. I mean, the Royal Signals was different, I suppose, because
mm,
they always had women in it, really.
yeah,
Well, like the
um,
artillery, we had like
none. But
oh
well, I know a few artillery girls now.
yeah,
Um, but
but that was strange for us, like when women started turning up in the regiment. We're like, fuck them,
yeah,
they're evil. Go away.
yeah. I think that the Royal Signals, as you say, when WRAC was about, always had
Yeah,
females. Not particularly in every role, but the females were quite integrated. So it was quite, in that respect, I've always said, a forward-thinking corps. It wasn't alien to them. But whenever you were still on operations, there'd probably be only one female, maybe two. When I got to my first unit, there was, in a unit of like 400, there'd be like 30 odd females, if that. So we were still not a lot, but it
no.
was a lot more than other regiments.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know this sounds a bit misogynistic and sexist, I suppose, really. But I mean, in them days, we just weren't used to wearing women.
Mm,
You know, we were all of the opinion, oh, they can't come on the guns, and they won't be able to lift the shells, they won't be able to do this, they won't be able
yeah,
to keep up with us and stuff like that. And it's a complete load of bollocks.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, obviously there is certain aspects that there's going to be a difference between people, but that's just general makeup of fucking human
yeah.
body, more or less.
Biology, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, that's not just male and female. Fucking hell, I've known kids who were
yeah,
fucking small. I've known
yeah,
blokes who were massive and they can do a lot more than I could, and this, that, and the other. So it swings and roundabouts.
yeah,
But yeah, we found it a bit. I don't want to say scary, but it kind of was because sometimes you didn't know what to say, how to react, how
yeah,
you mind your p's and q's and stuff like that. But that soon passed out the window when you
mm,
realised they were all just as fucking mental as we are.
yeah. Yeah, and when later on in my career, when I was doing more specialist stuff, I'd be working more with infantry regiments and stuff, and some, I'd be like, guy would be like, I don't really know what to do. He'd like speaking to me and be like, just treat me like one of the lads. It's fine. Do you know what I mean? We've all done the same thing, and I guess it if you've had a whole career where you've just been one of the lads and it's just been a regiment full of lads, and then you get the first female in, you are going to be a bit like, oh, how do we treat her? So it's not being sexist or anything, because in that era of you know the army, it was new, and it was new that it was opening up more doors to different regiments, wasn't it? And it was just a
Yeah.
progression, like the army's still progressing now into different aspects of society and stuff. So
Well, I
it's
mean,
just
that's one of the things, isn't it? It's we all look back now and say, oh, the army's gone soft. Training it was always harder in my day and stuff like that.
yeah, always
And it's not a case of that, really. It's just society's changed. People have changed.
mm,
I joined in 1985, and it's very different, very, very different now to what it was then.
yeah,
Even going back 20 years. I left the army 12 years ago. Yeah, 12 years ago. And it's different now. And it's only
yeah,
12 years. It's not that much, it's not that long a period, but
no,
things have changed. Society's changed. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I'm not a political commentator. I don't do politics. It just confuses me or makes people angry.
yeah,
But one thing I did notice was that when the lasses started coming into the regiments and stuff like that, there was ill feeling on both sides. I think to say that the lasses got treated better, I wouldn't say that, but they got treated differently, and not just by like the seniors and stuff like that, but by the lads. They're obviously fucking trying to get into the knickers and stuff like that. I think there was a few girls that took advantage of that, but each to their own. But it did make the dynamics of the regiment different,
yeah,
and I think as we've got used to it over a longer period of time, that's like kind of eased off. But it's the same as it is in Civvy Street. There's still going to be the downside to mixing the sexes in a job and stuff like that. The young lass from the artillery who took her life last year. That was a sad case, but I bet it's not the last one, and it's obviously it's not the first.
No.
So I've spoken to her last year about the equality in the military when she was serving, and she come up with some few dark stories, to say the least. And because I've never been on that side of it, I don't appreciate it or understand until now, how a bit of banter or a bit of what you think's funny to somebody can be fucking almost dangerous, if not dangerous. I mean, did you experience any of that? But I mean, with you saying the Royal Signals was a bit more integrated, was that easier? Or?
I think because of, as you say, the era that I was in, I would say that any female that was in that era would have had some form of sexism or discrimination at that point.
Or harassment.
They just sometimes we'd come to accept it because it was that part of society, or we'd get on with it, or we'd so I didn't experience anything as brutal as some girls have. But I just went out and proved myself that I could do the same job. And then, maybe I did have to push myself better than the lads to be noticed for being that, I think.
Yeah.
But as we were saying, that was the era that we grew up in, whether it was right or it was wrong. But I think the issues that we've got at the moment is it's still potentially there, although the army and the military are trying to get it out. But that's potentially a societal problem.
It's society in general, isn't it? It's not just you can't tar everybody in the military with the same thing just because it happens to one or two people. Well, I say one or two, it happens to a few people, and it happens. But it happens in the street as well. It's just that being in the military in such a closed environment, everything's compounded as well. I'm not trying to excuse anyone's behaviour. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't really see it when I was in, or I didn't understand it. When I say I didn't see it, I didn't. I'm trying to phrase this a different way, without sounding like a knob. I didn't see it happening. I didn't understand what was going on. If somebody had said to us, "Oh, fucking, he's coming on a bit strong" or whatever like that, I'd have thought, like, I didn't see that happening. Although you kind of knew it was, but it was just a strange time, to be honest. But like you say, now there's you've got RSMs in the artillery who were female, some of the first RSMs, and they're really, really good soldiers. I'm not trying to sound as I'm belittling anyone or saying, this, that, and the other. It's just we have to integrate, we have to get used to it. There's definitely going to be jobs where females can't do, and there's definitely going to be jobs that males can't do, especially in some of the SF roles and stuff like that. I've just been reading a book by James Rennie called The Operators, about 14 Company, and that was quite an eye-opener. I'd heard about the debt when I was, we were in the army now, but I never realised the training and stuff like that they went through. Oh, Jesus Christ, sod that. Anyway, digressed a bit too much there, I think. So training for you, how did you find it? Like you're saying, you have to stand out from the, to be better than most of the boys or the boys on the course.
Yeah, so the basic, as I said, it wasn't a breeze, but I enjoyed it, and just seeing it as an extended annual camp for 10 weeks or whatever it was. And then trade training for me was 14 months, and I did a technical trade, yeah, for 14 months, yeah. So I was an engineer basically. So we went from running around being the fittest I've probably ever been to sitting on a desk from 8 a.m. till 4 or 5 o'clock at night learning digital electronics and squiggly amps and physics and maths. And we'd go from like in 4 weeks we do A-level maths, and we'd move on and do A-level physics, and we'd go electronics, and so it was full on, and I'm not going to lie, maths and physics were my worst subjects at school. So I was scraping passes kind of at 60% odd. And it wasn't until we got to the last sort of 6 months where you get on the kit and you fault find that then I found my feet, because I wasn't. So, cause some of the guys on the courses were so intelligent, that like uber intelligent, they'd be getting 100% on all this stuff, and I just followed the fault, where they'd be trying to, like, oh, is it this diode or is it this? But I just followed the schematics and did it, and somehow passed, and then got posted to 30 Signal Regiment, which was classed as, well, it was state of the art at the time. It was satellite communications, which in 96, 97 was Star Trek type stuff, and didn't really look back from there, because we were the globetrotters wherever there was a incident, whether that was peacekeeping or humanitarian. One of our detachments would be sent out, and being a tech or an engineer, there'd only be a few of us, so there'd be one tech per deck that'd go out. So we were there on the.
What was it like turning up at your regiment for the first time? Because I know, again, with previous conversations I've had and experience, that leaving training, but I was saying that you were in training for so long. Leaving training and going to your first unit, you were like, it was like it's all fucking turning up back in basic training again.
Yeah, so the signals and techs particularly are a bit of a strange bunch, where we try to be very military and be wary, and we do lots of promotional courses and go to Brecon for 5 weeks and do our corporal's course and our sergeant's course and that. But when we're in like depot on camp, we're pretty much doing our trade all the time. So we're fixing kit, and we're just in a workshop getting down and fixing kit that's been broke. But because it was the Globetrotters, I literally got there, and it was quite daunting, because we get posted on our own. So you sort of like this young little Siggy. I mean, I wasn't that young then. I was 19, but it's still fairly young. Turn up at my regiment, everybody's all sort of there. I don't know what to do. I turn up on Sunday and sort of get in my room and hide there till the morning, not knowing what to do. And basically got put on guard, because that's what happens. Put on guard for a month, I think, or 3 weeks. Came back from those 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it was sat round, because we didn't really have much shouty parades, maybe on a Monday morning, would be about it. Sat round the restroom waiting to be allocated whatever I was going to do, because I didn't really know. And my troop staffy was like, Atkinson, Bosnia, and it was like Bosnia next week. And I was like, it's got to be wrong. Can't be me. There must be another Atkinson. so at the end I went up and went, oh, staff, he said Bosnia next week. I've just got here, type thing. He's like, yeah, Bosnia next week, untack training tomorrow. Go and get your kit sorted out. Because I didn't even have like really any kit, because I've been on, what's it called, guard. so I shot off, went on was called untack training, which for people who don't know is like where you get trained for theatre. So you learn a bit of the language and learn, mine clearance and whatever's going on in theatre, and then got on a Hercules on my own, because again we get posted on our own, and flew out to Split and got met by a really, really grumpy staffy who told me to get in the van, load my weapon, and then proceeded to put earplugs in to listen to Britney Spears or whatever he was listening to. And we had like an 8-hour journey going past bombed out buildings, and I was just sort of like, this is real.
I mean, going back a little bit, I've got to ask you this question. What did you think of Gamecock Barracks?
Oh
You know
yeah.
when before we started, I said we've got something in common.
Oh yeah, Game Cop.
That's where I
Yeah.
started my army career.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was a weird little place, but
Yeah.
with the windbreaks and stuff, and obviously Nuneaton, the bonking donkey, and all that type of stuff. I don't know whether it was called that when you
No,
were there.
we weren't allowed out. Well, not
Were
down
you?
south of the piss anyway. No, it was junior leaders regiment. So
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's
No,
where I did 12 months training there. So
it's got a little sweet spot in my heart, I think, because it was where I kind of grew up and kind of opportunity of the realism of being actually in the army and going to essentially war and doing what I'd signed up for. And in those days, people didn't go home at the weekends, so it was closer knit. So now, because I'm still in the army cadets as an instructor, I kind of and I go and do talks and stuff at barracks, and everyone goes home at weekends and doesn't live on camp, and the mess is like just not what it was. I mean, I know,
nearly all shut.
yeah, I know we probably all drank a bit too much in our day, but
Impossible.
that was how it was. But you know, it was nice, and I've got friends that from that time that are still really good. Well, as you do the whole military career, and yeah, it was kind of. I guess I've never been asked that question before. I guess it was where I grew up and learnt about what the real army was about.
Yeah. I mean, it's that whole thing of turning up at your regiment. And no matter what, I mean, I've seen guys come out of training who were like, the junior sergeants and junior RSMs and stuff like that, and they did really fantastic in training. And get to the unit and they think, fucking, I was great over there. And you just fucking knock back down a peg and just say, like, get over there, fucking screw. That's what it is. And you, I suppose, different in the trade that you did. But for like someone like a young gunner getting in the regiment, I would say you treat like shit. But you're just kind of waiting for the next lot to come in from training, so you're not the sprog anymore, type of thing.
Yeah.
And they get all the shit and you don't.
But
that's pecking order, isn't it?
In ours, we had to go on an operation because everybody in that era had been to Bosnia because that was the only thing going on. So
what did you think of Bosnia?
It was, it was an interesting experience because of my role. I got to see all of theatre, and because I was in charge, if you like, whenever any of the comms went down, the whole of theatre is like, whole of Bosnia, I'd have to go out and fix it. So I would get a call out in the middle of the night, and it'd be like, Gorny for Koof has gone down. I'd give them a ring if that system hadn't gone round and see if I could talk them into fixing it. If not, I'd have to, bang on someone's door. They're the duty driver, get them up and trundle off to Gorny for Koof. And it was, some of the experiences I had were immense because I was everywhere, finding my feet, trying to be in the thick of it. I was fixing comms for us that are vital for people to, communicate what's going on. And I was really doing my trade as opposed to pretending to do my trade on an exercise. So yeah, it was a really interesting time because it was the winter, and I mean, I was a skier, and the cold, that experiencing over there, and because our kit wasn't as good as it is now, and the Land Rovers weren't as good and stuff. And the first time I'd ever driven a Land Rover, and then the first time I'd ever driven a Land Rover with a trailer, and then they put a kernel in there because I needed to transport him somewhere, and I was like in this snow, which I'd never driven in. And it was like, oh my God, crazy.
Yeah, the cold. Yeah, I did a tour in 1995, and we ended up on Mount Igman, overlooking Sarajevo. Jesus Christ, that was cold. But we had no cold weather gear.
No.
You know,
We just
they
had three
started bringing us
combat.
boots and warm clothes up after we'd been there for fucking 4 months.
I think I had Dana boots. That was our Arctic issue, was Dana boots.
No, I think we started giving us Matterhorns, and then I wondered why
It
no
might
one
have
was
been
wearing them because we were
Might have
selling
been
them.
Matterhorn. Yeah. That's
So
what extra
on top of
top.
on Mount Igman, there's another like mountain on top of it type of thing. You know,
Is that Vitterog?
I think it was where the Rebro station was.
Yeah, I think it was
Jesus
Vitterog.
Christ, it used to be like wind chill up there. It was like -40. You know, and we couldn't get stuff up to them.
No,
they used to have, we had Foreign Legion in our area, and they used to ski up to them, you know, herringboning up to them to drop stuff off. Because I was working with a med section, and we had one of the medics was up on there all the time because, you know, it's permanently manned, the railroad station. He never wanted to come back down, the fucking weirdo. But I didn't realise what it was like.
Was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was lucky because that would have destroyed me being up there. But he got settled into a routine, and he was there for 3 months, I think.
Well, I didn't know what it was like until recently. My brother was Raw Signals, and he was telling me about just after the Falklands, they'd gone down there, and he did like nigh on 6 months on top of a mountain, Mount Adam, I think it was, and just in tents. You know, they were Arctic tents. I'm not going to say they were just like an Army 9.
12.
Yeah, but it was just like, I was just like, really? Yeah, once you're in, that was it. And I was like,
Kosovo was like that, though. Because Kosovo was like that as well, because when we went over to Kosovo, it was at the start. But it was Macedonia. So we started in Greece, drove through to Macedonia, set up there, and it was freezing as well. And then that tour went from freezing to red hot. And it was because it was so extremes. But we were just intense, and they wouldn't. We had the carry heaters, but they wouldn't give us the fuel because they said that they didn't want us burning the tents down, so they would rather us freeze than burn. So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. You know, at one point in Germany, I remember, you know, in our command post, or FPC, we had a kerrator at the back door, and one sat on where the commander would stand in a 4-3. So we had 2 kerrators going at the same time in the back of the wagon. We were toasty.
Yeah. That's a good thing, bad, isn't it? You know, artillery, signals, we always have power. We can always have a kettle, no matter where we are, because we've got a big, massive generator. You know, its job's a good one. It's like, and you've got a roof over your head.
You touched on that you went to Bosnia and you've been to Kosovo and all that. Where's the other places that you've been, and like the interesting things of that?
Yeah, East Timor was probably one of my most interesting missions that I can talk about. So basically, East Timor happened in '99, so it was just I literally come back from Kosovo. Got told I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else because I've been to too many places, and then East Timor happened, and I got selected to go there. And that was the UN was there. The Timorese were voting for independence, and the militia were going around doing really brutal things to the public to intimidate them into voting not for independence. So they were, chopping people's heads off and hanging them, and well, it's not much more brutal than that, is there?
No.
So the UN fled, and then we all went over as what was then called the Interfet Forces, and it was the lead nation was Australia, and we were serving with the Gurkhas because 2RGR went, and we were about 10. Well, there was about 20 Brits that have got the medal, apart from the Gurkha regiment, and it was literally. I landed. I loved MASH when I was a kid. Loved watching MASH, and it was literally like a scene from MASH. It was we landed on D-Day +1, and we were driving through derelict streets to go to where our HQ was going to be. And there was buildings on fire. There was not a soul apart from soldiers, a Gurkha squadron patrolling. We pulled into our compound. As we pulled into our compound, we got incoming fire. And I remember jumping out. We were in a soft skin Land Rover as well. No flat jackets issued because they didn't have any. I think we had about 90 rounds each. We did the take, your drills and skills kick in, got in all round defence, looking for the enemy, all that type of goods thing. And I remember going to put my helmet on. And I was like, oh, in my head, it was like a split second. I was like, there's no point putting the helmet on because I haven't got a flat jacket. So I was like, and then I was like, no, what's the point? I'll just keep looking down and trying to get where the enemy is. That was like a baptism of fire. That later that afternoon, I was on guard because there was a couple of civilians bombing about. It was the old like embassy buildings we were in. I think ours was Department of Education, been totally looted and ransacked. So it was a beautiful building, but it was like smashed up. I was on the front gate, and then the next thing, the building literally opposite blew up. And I seen them, the two militia running. They turned and faced. I was the only one there because I was on guard. I went, did the like classic cliche, went to engage, but then they turned and ran. So obviously rules of engagement, that's something you don't do. Shoot someone in the back. And at that point, then there was civilians around, as I said, because they were starting to feel a little bit safe. So I was grabbing civilians because the building was on fire, and getting them behind the walls. And the BBC showed up briefly later on a little moped and did this mic, and I must have sounded like a really really dumb squaddy, and they were like, well, what happened? I was like, well, the building's blown up, can you get out of the way? And I was like, and it was just like, oh my god, this is like insane what is going on. And that settled down. We released the things. An SAS officer was there, and he crawled across and asked me what was happening, and I explained to him, and then they sent out a fighting patrol from the Gurkhas, and then it subdued a bit, and we started cracking on with getting comms back in, because that's obviously our mission, to get comms in for the HQ. And all this, I don't think I've ever told it on the podcast, actually. All this was on my 25th birthday, which I'll never forget.
I was going to say, you're not going to forget that one, are you?
Yeah. And then later on, we were cooking food on the Hexie, and it was red hot though. It was like 40. I've never experienced heat like that, where you drench, because it was jungle. The next thing, this big massive crack came off the fire, and then I looked down, and my combat's on fire, so I'm banging the combats. As I'm banging my combats, my mates, I don't know where she got a bucket from, threw this bucket of water all over me, so I'm like stood there soaking wet, and I got this hole in my combat's bare leg and that. And bless them, they knew it was my birthday, and they were like, oh, it's about time maybe we'll give you a birthday present. They gave me a can of Coke and a chocolate bar. So for the rest of the tour, I had this hole in my combats, but because it was quite bad for malaria over there, I'd used my masking tape, which is every tech's friend, and got my gaffer tape around it. So I was like, I don't know what it looked like, but I'd gaffer tape around me combats, because I only had like 2 pairs, I think, for the whole operation, or something, maybe 3.
East Timor was one of them places that people don't know what happened, because it didn't make the massive press. And I mean, I know a little bit more about it now, because I interviewed General Richards, now Field Marshal Richards, and he was in charge of all that. And it's quite interesting to hear his story on it. how he upset a lot of people by not listening to them and just doing what he needed to do, more or
Yeah,
less.
well, it was classed as the most successful mission of, because it was obviously 99 for the British military, because there was no mission creep. We went from absolute, as I described those like openings. I mean, I'm not a storyteller, so if Hollywood got hold of it, it'd be a whole film, with whatever going on. But it went from total, I would say, carnage and what you would expect war to look like, to within like 3-4 months total tranquility and calm, thanks to not the British troops weren't leading, but we were guiding the Australian army, because it was their first lead mission, and I think the success of that, we were then, at the time it was Tony Blair, we were then brought back just before Christmas. And we had no mission creep. I know the Australians did, because it kind of became their Bosnia, didn't it? But they got independence, and if anyone can ever go to East Timor, it is from even looking around all the horrors that were happening and stuff. White sands. It was the first place I'd ever seen a wild turtle swimming in the sea, and then I think a humpback whale doing like the shoot of square to water. And yeah, it was just, you can see why it's probably a destination to go to. I don't know whether it's marketed as anything like that, but yeah, it was a beautiful country, and the Timorese was so welcoming to us and what they'd been through. It was a really, it's got a special place in my heart, and I actually, for the first, wrote a diary every day, and it's not till I read back through it that I think, God, did that happen? And then that, because it wasn't just, we had that first day and then it all went peaceful. It was over a long period of time. But yeah, it was an incredible mission, and it's one of those medals that not a lot of people have got, so people will ask you about it. And also, it was a very successful mission, I think, because it was a peacekeeping, and we did restore peace and order in quite a short time.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned there about how beautiful the place was. I mean, everywhere I've been on different tours and on exercise and stuff like that, there's beauty everywhere. I know that sounds a bit trite and a bit fucking dump my own ass, but there is, Northern Ireland, one of the most beautiful countries I've been to. Bosnia, wasn't too keen on Croatia because it was just rocks.
The rivers that used to, when I did took that drive with that Staffy, I was like, God, I've never seen a blue like that. Stunning, like blue rivers were,
I mean, do you know a place called Prozar? It wasn't far from Gorny-Verkoof.
It doesn't ring a bell.
The first time we drove through, to get from Split up to GV, you couldn't take the main route, so you had to go through like this old woodcutters trail, and it went through the mountains and through forests and that, and it was fucking dodgy, but it was cool. We could come out the other end of it, and you were over to the top of this reservoir at Prozar, and I, even now thinking back all them years, I mean, that was 95, so that's what, fucking 30 years ago. Shit, I'm getting old. I can still see it as though I'm looking at it now, and it was just stunning, because as we come over the brow, the sun was setting, so it was just, it was amazing, and literally everybody in the transport just went quiet as we were looking over it. And then later on, you found out we used to go down to it to do med visits to some of the regiments that were down. Like, you had like a regiment that went round as a massive QRF, and they never had a camp. Oh, my chair's just gone. They never had a camp, so they literally lived on their vehicles for months at a time, and they'd settle in place basically until they were needed. So it was the Devon and Dorsets then, and we'd go down and do med calls for them. We'd take the doctors down and stuff like that, and then they'd come back or whatever. So we used to use it as a jolly, drive down there, a few tinnies, lay on the side of the lake, and have a laugh for the afternoon. Until we found out that the village that we used to go through was suddenly empty, and the reason it was empty is because the Serbs had come through and brought everyone out there and fucking shot them and dumped them in the lake. So such beauty tinged with such sadness.
Yeah.
It's just fucking awful. I mean, Bosnia's always stuck in my mind, and it's the only tour I've been on that probably affected me, really, to be honest. Did you find anything like that when you on your tours that fucking stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of I try to focus on the good that I seen or saw within my service. Obviously, there's some bits and bobs which do disturb me to this day. But it's things like when, in Kosovo, I ended up working on a refugee site. We got posted. We moved from Kosovo to Albania, and displaced people or refugees were there. And we set up like a football match for them, and we got totally annihilated by the Kosovans, and found out afterwards it was because they had like some national Kosovan players on the side, so so the lads didn't have a chance. Yeah. And some of them didn't have like shoes or stuff on, and then like East Timor was when I volunteered to go on a mission to go up into the jungle and bring back a load of people that had been found in the jungle in a near a church up the top where they'd fled, and it was the displaced people. And I was like,
I know the story of that because General Richards told me about it when I interviewed him.
Yeah. So like, just seeing the kids, and when you got, you're probably on the same thing because there was only one convoy that went up, and getting out and being like, all these people so pleased to see you because you were essentially going up and rescuing them and taking them back home, what was left of home. And I remember this kid being, you feel like you need to give them stuff, and a lot of the time it'd be water that you'd be giving them, because fresh water wasn't freely available. And I gave this kid like a pen and some paper, and he was so happy that he could go off and draw whatever it was. And little moments where I think you make human connection, and the things that I try to focus on, the good human connection of where you've done good, really.
No, I get that. Yeah, we had a few occasions like that in Bosnia where we got involved with the locals, trying to help them out and stuff like that. And you feel for them. And then all these years later, you think back and think, in certain places you think, fucking hell, was it? Put it this way, like Afghan, Iraq and all that, and you think, fucking hell, what a waste. Especially Afghan, what a fucking waste. We just walked out and left them to it. Not that we had any choice, because fucking Sam did a bunk in the middle of the night. But it's sometimes you don't appreciate the change you made in another country or another place or to other people, because it doesn't really sink in with you or doesn't affect you too much. Like you're saying, East Timor, I wouldn't mind betting 99% of the people who listen to this podcast don't know what that happened.
No.
Or what the story was, or why it happened, or this, that, and the other. And places like Bosnia are getting forgot about. It won't be long before Iraq will be forgot about. It won't be long before Afghan will be forgot about.
Yeah.
The public view, this, that, and the other. But it's like it's our memories that keep stuff like that alive. And things like this, like the podcast, talking bollocks for an hour and a half to people, keeps it alive. So where's the other places that you've been that you can tell us about? I know you can't tell a lot of things.
Oh, basically, I got back and then I had to go do my class 1, which is, another 14 odd months of even harder physics and maths.
Is that down at Blandford, is it?
Yeah, and yeah, I never envisaged after doing my class 3 and ever going back and doing my class 1, because I just thought, I'm too thick. There's no way I'm going to pass it. Anyway, so somehow I passed that course as well, and then got promoted to sergeant, and then I was over in Northern Ireland doing lots of bits and bobs over there. with the Green Army, and was in charge of like a troop. And yeah, I was in civvies a lot of the time, and yeah, it was interesting. And as a kid, I'd always grown up over in Northern Ireland because Liverpool's quite close, and my dad was in the Merchant Navy, and he ended up on the roll on roll off. So a lot of my Christmases were over in Northern Ireland. So it was kind of a home from home, but I'd seen it on a different foot because and now I wasn't particularly liked. So
it's one of the places I want to go back to, but don't know if I really want to or if I could. You know, it's like meeting your heroes type of thing, and it's like burying the demons and shit. And I know guys been over and loved it.
I was going to go back this year, but it hasn't happened just for in my camper van and doing a trawl around. But then I was like, oh, was that a bit wise? But yeah, I think it'll be all right to have a trundle around, see the beautiful scenes.
The podcast from the Unconventional Soldiers, they did it. They went over there for like a long weekend and like recorded it as well, and went around the old haunts and stuff like that. And they did go to a place in Derry where they mentioned, or London Derry, whichever side of the cloth you want to come from. They went to it was either the Airbnb or the hotel they were stopping in, and asked the lass at reception about how has it changed around here, and she was like, "Whoa, what do you mean? Oh, since the Trouble Tour, you'll have to ask my mum about that. I don't remember none of it. We don't want it to come back. Which is brilliant. Mm-hmm. The appetite for the violence isn't there anymore.
Yeah, which is good to hear, really.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you mentioned or you hinted earlier about SF work that you've done. I know, obviously, you can't talk about the majority of that. But how did that happen for you? How did you get into that?
I just got bored being sat behind a desk, so I tried to do something different, really. Yeah, and then basically went off, did whatever, and eventually got out, and then found myself after kind of being top of my game, about to start work on a car park, collecting money for people parking the car, basically.
I mean, what made you want to leave?
Just because I wanted to be young enough to be able to start a new career, and that was the main reason. I know I was like 30 at that point, and I don't know what happened.
What the hell was that?
Say congratulations.
What's that? I've never done that before. Jesus.
I must have said the key word. I wonder whether you can see that.
I was going to say, I've not touched anything. Jesus. How did you find the transition from...
I think the word was young enough.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it again. So I got out, and I got a lucky break. I didn't start work on that car park, and I ended up in America, working with a high profile, not a high profile, a high network individual, like living it up, being a bodyguard, close protection operative, like living in Beverly Hills, and just like living a dream, I guess, in that respect. So that's kind of where my career sort of went, and then eventually I left that client and came back to the UK, and just got into boring sort of security work, really. I still do CP.
As much as people see the glamorous side of it and stuff like that, I know loads of guys who've done CP work and stuff like that, and the amount of all like that, don't do it. It's boring as hell. A lot of it is, very, very rarely there's any action, let's say, which that's the good thing. If you're doing your job well, there shouldn't be any action.
No, you want it to be boring. Yeah. It never interested me, the jobs that I got offered in Iraq or Afghanistan or Nigeria, because the way I seen it is, if I wanted to go over to those countries, albeit, the price tag where you'd get 5-10 grand a month. But there's a reason why you're getting paid 5-10 grand a month. There's no top cover, because in the military you've got the top cover, and it's like, if you want to do that, why did you get out? So I went for the glamorous side of close protection and went for rich individuals and celebrities, realistically, and that is where sort of my path led in that respect. And then eventually I ended up settling down, getting married, and starting a security business, which was completely different. It was managing for 14 years security guards, which their main contract was looking after warships. So when then it was actually in Liverpool. So when the warship would come in, an RFA ship or a naval vessel to get refitted, the Navy would leave and I would put my staff on, and we would provide the security for that vessel, which was a phenomenal sort of contract. And the guys that I had on were brilliant. Some of the staff that I had stayed with me for the whole duration of 14 years. And it would ebb and flow because it's ships. So sometimes I'd have 10 members of staff. Sometimes I would have 100 members of staff. So it just sort of went like that, up and down. And it was all sort of going swimmingly for a long while.
I can hear a butt coming. What's happened?
Yeah. So the bit where that's kind of put me into the, if you like, limelight, and thrust me in front of people's cameras was 2019 happened. Life was great. I was really fit. I was, business was great. Family was all going well. And there was the tidal wave of sort of COVID we started hearing about it. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and at the same time my brother was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer. And then that was late 2019. So all the focus went on his treatment, and this tidal wave hit us all, and we all started to get locked down, and everybody lived through it. Nobody escaped it. I was back up home. They were all helping whenever I could to see him, and being a support around there. And I was coping with all that was going on. And I mean, to be fair, COVID I really didn't care about, because I was like, my concentration was on my brother. And treatments got stopped because nobody knew what this COVID was. And I was out cycling one day, and then I got struck and left on the side of the road. Ended up in A&E. And every cyclist will tell you the first thing we do is we look to see if our bike's all right. And it wasn't. It was, totally written off. I ended up got a few stitches. I've still got like the scars and that now. And then tragically, the next day, my brother died. So it was really tough. Anyone who's gone through it, lots of people lost their family members during COVID, and not directly from COVID, other things. And the hardest thing was the fact we couldn't have funerals. And then we got into this live streaming funerals, and it was really weird. So I decided to do what I've always done in the past, and try and make something better or something good out of something bad, if that was possible. So I started raising money and walking 5,200 miles in a year for my brother, because he would have been 52 that year. And I did it. In the end, I got a gift off Safa because they bought me a new bike. So I started pedaling a bit because it was quite a big task. And at the end of it, I'd raised, which for me was a massive amount of money, incredible, £10,000. And I set up an art foundation in my brother's name, which still is still there today, and is for cancer patients to have a respite. And the reason why that is during that time he wanted to take up art, and the funding had been cut, so that was seemed kind of a logical thing. And from that, I was starting to be noticed, I guess, and I'd also been given this bike from Safa, who gave me that glimmer of hope, when you think the whole world's against you. And I decided to write a book called Military Memories to help pay them back. Not that they asked for any money or anything, and that's not what charity's about. But so I put together a poetry book, which was written by the military, about the military, and it's a beautiful book. All the profits go to Safa, and it's on sale, Amazon. And it's beautifully illustrated. So every poem's been illustrated. There's been a picture sent in by the poet. And yeah, from there, I started doing speeches. I gained momentum, started doing other stupid, crazy challenges, and somehow ended up raising, at that point in a couple of years, 250,000 for veterans charities. I was recognised, and still flabbergasted today that I won because of the people I was against, if you like, and won Inspiration of the Year Soldier in On Award. And then it just kept sort of coming, and won Volunteer of the Year because I do a lot of stuff for animal charities and the cadets and the fundraising. And then on one of my last challenge, which was I'm on one now, which we'll get to. My last challenge, which was Scotland 300. The first attempt, I failed and dislocated my arm and broke my arm in 3 places, smashed my head open and all that. So I went back last year to do it. It was a solo challenge. 300 miles across Scotland, hiking, kayaking the Great Glen, and then cycling back, all solo, unsupported, and for charity. And so I managed to then raise a few, because people were starting to get, the things were starting to bite, weren't they, from like the recession, if it was ever declared. So I raised a few grand on that, and I was up in Scotland, and I got an email, and I thought it was a joke. And it was an email saying that I'd been named a Point of Light, which I'd never heard of, which is an award from the Prime Minister, which he awards every day to people who've done stuff for charity and stuff. And I was invited to number 10, and I was like, this is a joke, I dropped in the middle of nowhere. I'd seen anyway. I was like, yeah, whatever. And anyway, it wasn't a joke. And I finished Scotland 300 in 13 days. I thought it was going to take me like 3-4 weeks. And then I literally left all my kids and flew back to London, which was really surreal because I'd been 2 weeks on my own, and went into number 10. I had to buy a suit when I was down there and stuff. And yeah, so I've like, from that, I've just sort of, if you like, I think found my purpose in tragedy by trying to do good and pay it forward, if you like. And currently, I know I haven't stopped talking. That's because I'm a Scouser. Currently, I'm on. Well, people who are Scousers will say I'm not a Scouser, but anyway, that's another debate.
You sound like it to me.
Yeah. So, and then at the minute, I'm currently on, because it's 5-year anniversary of COVID and my brother's death. I've decided to do 5,200 miles again, for the same, for SAFA and Woody's Lodge and ACT UK, which are veterans and children's charities. And at the end of it, because I'm trying to promote positive mental health, I'm going and taking a team of 5 other women to the foot of Everest, which will be the end of my challenge, which is in about 6 weeks now, because I've well smashed over the 4,000 miles mark, so I've only got about 1,200 miles left to go.
Only.
Yeah.
Only. I'm lucky if
I mean,
I can walk up the bloody
I am a
stairs.
bit knackered, to be honest. But yeah, so that's the big thing that I'm doing at the minute for those 3 charities. I'm trying to promote positive mental health, where last year I was trying to highlight the effects of loneliness. So
Yeah,
so
I mean, they go hand in hand as well. Yeah.
Yeah. The last 5 years for me have been, and I haven't got into all the other tragic things that had happened, but have been a real roller coaster of a ride. But hopefully, I've done some good along the way. And like yourself, if you just help one person by your podcast or a post or raising awareness, then that's worth everything, really.
The one thing I've found over the last 18 months is talking. I spent a long time not talking to anyone. I go to work, come home, sit in the house, do nothing, and literally they wouldn't answer my phone or anything like that. And it is talking to people, and I can't stand people. I fucking hate them. I don't even know why I'm doing this podcast, and I've said this. Look, I think I say it on nearly every podcast. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I don't like company. You know what I mean? But
we're quite a distance away though, so it's all right.
Yeah. No, I'm getting better. I can go near. I'm allowed near people again. That sounded bad. It's talking, and one thing I won't do anymore is not answer my phone, because I've had people ring me who've listened to the podcast and who wanted help, and I'm not a mental health evangelist or anything like that. I can tell them or signpost them to places that they want to go to or that I think they should go to. And I've done kind of research and courses and stuff like that on that. But it's the talk, and it's just sometimes you just need someone to listen. And I can't compare anything that I've done with what you've accomplished over the last few years, especially like what you're accomplishing, especially at the moment. But we're all there. There's all these veterans out there. The message has got to be to them all that we're here. Yeah. Don't try and do it all on your own. There's people out there who will listen. You might not think it. Don't be scared to ask for help, type of thing.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's how you feel that way as well.
Yeah, and I think the veterans community is a very unique community, and we've got such a strong community with diverse skills, and we know what each other's been through. Even if we didn't serve in that corps, we've got that same thing. So it is what you just said. Somebody will have gone through it, and we're gonna. If you reach out to someone, even if you haven't seen them for 20 years as a friend, they're gonna pick up that phone or listen to you. And I think that's the biggest message, isn't it? Is don't think you're alone. Although what you're going through is very private to yourself, and each individual has different emotions and stuff. But to talk to someone and have them listen to you, and then they might not be an expert, but just getting it out there of what you're feeling is helpful, and then they can signpost you to somewhere else, or maybe it'll be that first step to go, I need to go speak to them.
I've had a few guys reach out, and and sometimes you think you're not making a difference and stuff like that, and you'll find this as well, because we'll have to promote your podcast as well. So there's not just me doing podcasts; there's millions of them. And I'd recommend people to go and listen to Gina's as well. And what's it called? It's Beyond the Barracks, is it?
Beyond the Barracks, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a good title. That I'm quite jealous of that. I quite like it. And it's as you're probably finding now doing that you will get some feedback off some people, and they'll just say, "Thanks for bringing this up. Thanks for mentioning that. It's made me feel different and stuff like that." And I get that, not often. It's not, I don't get it daily, but I get it every now and again, and it makes me feel good. And again, I can't compare what I've accomplished with this to what you've accomplished, because you're Premier League and I'm not. That type of thing. But if everyone's got a little, they can do a little bit.
Yeah.
And if everyone does a little bit, that's a big, there's a lot, there's lots getting done, type of thing.
There's a quote like that, isn't there? I don't know if it's from John Lennon or something. I don't know. But yeah, exactly right. You'll never know the ripples of kindness that you're promoting by, getting on and talking to different guests, because just one person might go, oh, that's it. Or they might hear, I've mentioned Woody's Lodge and they live in Wales and they've seen it and they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll go there. And you just don't know those ripples of that can affect so many people so much removed from yourself. Even like, as you were saying with service, the people like you went and helped when you were in Bosnia, they'll have kids and grandkids now, and they will have been affected by your kindness in that moment.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it, isn't it? When you think from small acorns and all that, that's I'm gonna sound a bit fucking preachy there. But it is. And what's your plans for the future then? Once you've accomplished this task that you're on with Everest?
What was next? Did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been told I've got to stop, but it's not gonna.
I don't think you're the type of person who's going to take much notice of that.
I've got a couple of plans up my sleeve for next year.
Ones. Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. I keep getting told I have to go bigger and better, but I'm like, it's how much bigger and better can I go than walking like 10, 15 miles a day,
Yeah.
But I mean, then there's incredible people that I've interviewed and they like, yeah, I could go bigger and better.
I mean, I interviewed Sally Orange last year, and I was just like fucking gobsmacked. 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. Yeah. I was just like, how?
Yeah, amazing. I'd love to do that. It's just
there you go.
And stuff.
That's what she said. She did mention that you don't appreciate the cost and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned there, your the Scotland 300. I've got a friend called Dan Smith who was in 39 Regiment with us. He did from the tip of Scotland down to the south coast with a canoe. So he canoe lakes, canoe rivers, carry the canoe between.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. He's out in Canada at the moment. Yeah. Going across the Yukon on his own.
Oh wow!
Carrying his canoe and canoeing across the lakes and the big rivers, and I'm just like, fucking hell, that's mental, And
that'll be a story.
Such with I can't wait for when he gets back. I want to get him back on a show and say, tell us all about that.
Yeah, but there's as you say, there's so many incredible people like Sally and Mitch that's just done the world's longest triathlon, and then you've got Chris that walked the coast, and they're all part of this veterans community, which is why we're kind of blessed to be in the club, really.
Yeah. One thing I have found recently is TikTok, and the veterans community on there is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I must admit, it can be a bit salty sometimes. I must admit.
Yeah, I'm on TikTok,
can't please everybody.
I just put beautiful places. I don't ruin it with me talking, so it's like nice scenes that I put on there.
It's just a strange place, to be honest. I must admit. It
Just
really is. You know, that
use it to
algorithms.
store my videos.
Yeah. I was like, when I first went on TikTok, I was just getting women trying to sell me OnlyFans pages. And to be fair, I was quite happy with that. I lived on my own, you know. I'm like, oh, just flick. And then you just start, oh, interesting in that one. That was it. It was just all veteran stuff all the time. And I was like, where's the girls gone? But it's, yeah, I don't think people give it the due it should be given, really, because it does get people to talk. It does get people to know that they're not on their own, and they get to see people like, there's a guy who keeps appearing on mine, Ricky Vet, and that's led me on to lots of other people, and it's like TikTok celebrities and stuff like this. And I'm 56. I don't really understand the way that all works and how people can become semi-famous and stuff like that just
No,
off the
I
internet.
know it's a bit weird, isn't it?
It seems a bit weird to me, but that's there, but people do gravitate towards it because they're getting to see what such and such is up to, and it's the same as YouTube and any social media really. But it's just mastering it to your advantage, I think, and
they're
I'm
all
not very good at that.
different beasts, aren't they?
Yeah, very different. Right. Thanks for coming on. Don't want to take up too much of your time, even though the sun's gone away. It's been a lovely day here. It's all clouds up here. It's horrible. Again, thanks for coming on. I wish you the best of luck with the final part of your trip to bloody hell, teeth bagging, to your trip to Everest. And I look forward to seeing what you've got planned in the future.
Yeah, well, thank you, so much, for giving me the opportunity, because that's what it's about. Trying to talk about the charities, and as we alluded to, it you just don't know who it's going to help. So, thanks, and
one thing I need to ask is if
pleasure.
anybody wants to donate to what you're doing at the moment, where do they do that?
Yeah, it's crowdfunding, which has just changed its name to Edge or something. So Edge crowdfunding, 5,200 miles. I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
But any donations, or if people just share my page, because I know times are hard at the minute, just to get as many pennies in and for these charities would be great.
We'll get that posted as soon as I get this posted out. The other thing is, I'll post a link to your podcast and stuff like that, and I look forward to watching them.
Yeah, thanks.
And seeing how that progresses.
That's been a journey. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not as easy as it looks.
It's not. I mean, I'm lazy, so I've got it all. I just walk in, turn it all on, and that's it. But it is. It's chasing people to come on it and stuff like that, and.
Yeah, I was a pain. Yeah.
Yeah, with
it's sunny. I don't want to come on.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm jealous of Chris's, the old Paratrooper podcast, but he seems to be going a lot better than I am. But he's a lovely bloke. He deserves everything he gets out of that as well. And I do like listening to his and watching his.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's quite entertaining. I mean, there's some really good, military podcasts out there. The Military Veteran is a good one. The Unconventional Soldier. I shouldn't be advertising them all, should I?
No.
Don't listen to them. Listen to me.
My favourite's Diary of a CEO, to be honest.
I've not heard that one. I'll have to look that one up.
It's nothing to do with.
No, I kind of get that. I mean, there's a few that I listen to that have got nothing to do with the military in it as well. Some of them are quite funny, some of them aren't. Right, anyway, I won't take up much more of your time. Again, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
And I wish you all the best in the future.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, that'd be great, because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.